So, hi guys. So, today we will learn about software architecture. Okay. So, before we start software architecture, let me ask you a simple questions. Suppose you build a small applications, okay, like a calculator or to-do app or anything very small applications, right? You run in your local machines. It works perfectly fine, right? It works perfectly fine. But think about situations when thousand more customer can, you know, coming to use your applications. Maybe 10,000 customer coming to use your applications at the same time. How your applications will perform? Will it be able to survive or it will crash, right? Think of 5 more developers you hired and they also want to code, they also want to add features at the same time in your applications. So, how will you handle this kind of situations? You cannot go with your simple calculator app without thinking about how you will architecturing the system, right? So, to solve this kind of problem, what are the problem may come? First of all, you have to think about what are the problem may come, when you, 1000 more customer will come. First of all, whether your applications, the applications you are deploying in a server, right, that server will be able to handle it or not. So, scalability will be one problem. So, what will be the problem? Scalability. So, your applications may not be scalable enough to handle this many traffic, right. Another thing is maintainability. Your applications may not be that much maintainable that 5 more developers can work in 5 individual features, right. So, that is also another problem. So, this kind of problem may come when your applications start grow. So, to solve this kind of problem, you have to choose a good software architecture based on your requirement, right. So that in future your applications will be more maintainable and whenever required it will be more scalable. This kind of things, you no need to be worry of when the application grows, right. So, we will talk about what is software architecture now, right. So, software architecture is just a blueprint of your, just consider it as a building, right. It is a building, right. Just think of it as a building and software architecture is just a blueprints of the building, okay. So, how a building makes? Through bricks, right. So, these bricks are the code, okay. So, through this is the bricks, right. So, through code you actually fulfill the software architecture, but okay, and it is a blueprint of the building, right, and bricks are the code, okay. Just think of if the building architecture is not good, no amount of bricks can hold this building, right. If the design itself is wrong, then if you increase the number of bricks also, however you want to manage the bricks, but the building will fall, right. So, you can relate software architecture like that. If your software architecture is not properly chosen, then whatever you do with your code, okay, your applications will fall when the applications, number of customers will grow. So, you have to choose a proper architecture based on your requirement, okay. So, what are the possible architecture, why it matters I told you, right. If it matters when your application grows, when the scalability, maintainability comes into picture, you have to choose a proper software architecture to make the applications more scalable and maintainable. So, what are the common patterns available? First is layered architecture. So, I will go very basics on the software architecture common patterns. Another is the microservice architecture, third is the event driven architecture, another is the micro front end client server architecture, another is the serverless architecture, okay. So, we will talk about layered architecture. Layered architecture, what is it actually? So, you have layer means you will have your modules of code layered into couple of modules, right. Suppose one module is UI, your user interface module, right, where exactly a user can go and provide the required details, right. One is UI. So, another is the business logic part, another is the database part. So, what you do here in layered architecture, you layer your applications into three modules, right? One is UI, another is a business logic, another is a DB. So, last lecture I told, right, UI means front end, back end and DB. So, this kind of architecture, right? A UI will call to your business logic service, business logic will call to DB, DB will provide details to business logic, and business logic service will provide the details to UI, and that is how the whole application's life cycle will get fulfilled. So, this is the very basic layered architecture. So, what happens in layered architecture, right? So, most of the time all these codes will be in one single code base, that is called monolith, right? So, what is monolith? Monolith means your UI, your UI, your business logic, your database interactions, everything will be clubbed into one code base. Okay. So, that is called monolith architecture. Okay. Next we will come to microservice architecture. So, by naming also you may guess micro means small, right, service. So, there will be small service for each capability. Okay. Suppose you have just think about Zomato app, right, Zomato app, where you do what you do? You do order, you do payment and you do delivery, right. So, these are the three capabilities Zomato is having, just consider. So, each capability will be handled by different service. So, maybe there is a order service means just different applications, another is the payment service, different code base, another is the delivery service. So, what will happen? So, the business logic of order service, payment service and delivery service will be handled into three different code base. So, earlier with monolith what we have seen, everything was in the same service, everything was in the same code base, right. So, here in microservice we are not doing the same, we are splitting our responsibility or capabilities into three different service. So, what will happen? It is a lot of pros and lot of cons also, we will discuss in detail in each architecture later in the subsequent lectures. Next is the client server and micro front end, right. What is client server? Client server means suppose you have a web client and there is a server you are communicating to, right. So, what happens? You have a web based application, you have a web browser as a client, suppose this is a browser, this browser will act as a client and there will be one server, right, where you maybe deployed your applications. So, this client server module, a client will interact to server and get the required details and show it in the client. So, this is a basic client server module only. What micro front ends happens? So, in browser what front end you have seen, right. So, earlier front end was clubbed into only one applications, right. Front end usually was clubbed into only one code base, right. But in micro front end that also is getting separated into multiple applications. Okay. Suppose order related page will come from another independent code base for order UI. Payment page will come from one independent code base, that is payment UI. Like we have done for the backend part, right, order service, payment service. In UI also you may separate the based on your capabilities. So, this is called micro front end. Okay. So, nowadays this is heavily used, micro front end, Netflix and all the company uses it. So, and microservice, micro front end and microservice architecture nowadays is heavily used for different pros of them. Okay. Another is the serverless architecture. What is the serverless? Serverless means you no need to manage the server. Okay. Serverless, you by name you can understand, right? You no need to manage the server. Okay. So, who will manage the server then? Your cloud provider. Cloud provider means there is lot of cloud provider is there, if you know. One is AWS, another is the Google Cloud, Azure. So, lot of cloud provider is there, right. So, you just need to write our function, that which functions you want to develop. Your cloud provider will automatically handle all your software capabilities like scalability. Okay. So, whenever it is required they will add on server, and whenever it is not required they will stop the servers. So, automatically it will be done, you no need to configure the scalability from your end. Okay. So, in these three architecture what you were doing, you were handling the scalability from your own configurations. Okay, so you can use your Kubernetes and all to handle your scalability, but in serverless architecture you no need to do anything. You no need to do anything. In AWS there is a feature called ACS Fargate. Okay, so this also a serverless architecture, Lambda and all, so you can use. So this is the very high level of software architecture. So just in short, software architecture is very important to choose before you start designing your software, because it actually matters, you know, and it actually helps to make your system scalable, maintainable, and, you know, portable, lot of things, right. So, you know, this is what about software architecture. In the next lecture onwards, we will start going deep into each one of them, and we will understand and compare, and we will see for which scenario what will be the best choice to go with. Okay. So this is it for now. Thank you so much.